Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Andrea Principe. I'm the Deputy Rector of Lewis University. I'm here with our students to talk to you about our double degree programs that we do offer across a number of fields and across a number of countries. Specifically, double degree programs have one aim, that is to say, to boost your international experience, to boost your ability to acquire intercultural skills, and also at the same time to provide you with more opportunities in terms of employability. Just a few words about our educational model. Our educational model is very innovative. We do try to combine both academic teaching and professional experience. In fact, our students are exposed to really experts of any field of the social science, and at the same time we do host live case studies from professionals, executives, policymakers and the likes. We did plan to introduce also international experience such as double degree, again in order to boost your ability to interact with and actually work and operate in an international environment. And today with me I have three students who have been already involved in our programs with me, and also would like to thank Maria Elena, Tamara and Daniele, who's going to be actually talking about their experience, and in connection with via Skype is Eduardo, who is actually going to be the first one to speak about his experience as a double degree student at Gothenburg University. Thanks, Eduardo. Can you tell us about your experience in Gothenburg and why you were somewhat invited to do that, and what actually added to your academic profile and eventually, in fact, boosted your employability?
Hi, everybody. I was part of the first group of students who went to Gothenburg for the double degree in innovation and industrial management at the University of Gothenburg. I graduated in July 2016, and since September I'm working at Accenture Strategy here in Milan. As I said, the double degree was mainly focused on innovation, and I'm, let's say, using this experience during my job experience. As you probably know, Accenture is a consulting company which is mainly focused on technology, and for example now I'm working for Intesa Sanpaolo, which is the largest Italian company, in order to help them to embrace the technological innovation in its business model. More specifically, it's trying to disrupt the real estate industry, and we're helping them with the introduction of disruptive technology. Therefore, this was really connected to my experience in Sweden, where I had the opportunity to, let's say, deepen the introduction of new technologies and new business model into the, let's say, also hold companies with in other industries.
Thanks, Eduardo. Can you also tell us and tell our potential candidates for our double degree programs, tell us about your experience, your personal experience in Gothenburg? Because you went there as a kind of pioneer. It was the first time that we had this double degree program with Gothenburg, and I wonder whether, which was your feelings in terms of, and in fact, expectations as a Lewis students once you've decided to go for it?
Actually, we were the first students to go there, so we were a little bit scared about this experience, but it was really positive, especially because during the second semester, me and my four colleagues had the opportunity to work for local companies. For example, in my case, I had the opportunity to work for a local startup as intern, and also to write my master thesis regarding the internationalization process of this company, and especially the introduction of this product into the Italian market. And this was really a positive experience for me, which gave me the opportunity to enter into, let's say, the job work for the first time.
Oh, this is very interesting. So basically, what you're telling us is that your experience in Sweden was in fact instrumental then to find your ways, find your feet in the job market. Let me turn now to Maria Elena. Let me ask her whether her experience in the double degree program has actually had the same kind of outcome as in the case of Eduardo in terms of finding your feet in the job market, which is not particularly easy nowadays.
So good afternoon, everyone. Maria Elena, and I did my first year of my master's in London, at King's College London, and my field was global ethics and human rights, and I'm now completing the second year here at Lewis. In terms of what my professor was asking me, yeah, definitely, I think an experience of double degree helps you to fully understand not only the job market of the country you're in, but also the job market of Italy when you come back. So I think it gives you a double perspective and a broader perspective of what the opportunities are abroad. Specifically, I did an internship at the Italian Embassy in London from March till July last year, so almost 1 year ago. And it was very interesting for me. I'm an international relations student, so I think it was really useful for me in order to understand how an embassy really works, and to see how the concept of international relations really is like. So yeah, definitely, and this was thanks to King's, because obviously King's is full of societies, and thanks to also to the Italian societies and to the events that were taking place there, I could apply for an internship at the embassy. So.
Thanks, Maria. This is very interesting. So the double degree program has helped Marianella to broaden her kind of perspective in terms of the job market, and also to better understand what was the dynamics of the job market, not only in the UK, but also in Italy. Let me continue on these issues of broadening horizon, broadening opportunities, and let me turn to Tamara and ask her how double degree experience has helped her to become more relational, so to acquire more skills in terms of networking, for instance, with both, I guess, students, but also with other international institutions as well as companies.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone. I'm Tamara, freshly graduated in finance, and I did my double degree here abroad in Nova, at the university, Nova University. During my double degree here in Lisbon, I had the possibility, firstly, to attend several workshops organized directly in Nova, led by most important consulting firms or international institution, no-profit organization, and a broad range of possibilities. Secondly, I also did, as Eduardo, the internship in order to write my dissertation at the GPR department, the Ministry of Finance in Lisbon. And also I joined 2 or 3 unions. The first one is the Student Union of Nova, which we were all the day in Nova, organizing not only parties and meetings, also with professionals, in some cases professionals and professional staff that are also teaching in Nova. And a special activity and opportunity that Nova gives me was also the volunteering experience, since we were in charge of providing food to homeless and poor people, organized by a local association.
Okay, that's great. There's another interesting perspective from Portugal, where basically you managed to also acquire, say, hands-on experience by doing an internship as your colleagues, and also, again, broadening your perspective in terms of working with other students for the union and the initiatives that were taken there. In terms of, say, relational abilities, so abilities to interact and, in fact, also learn to negotiate with people that come from different culture, let me ask to Daniele there, how his experience has helped him to acquire intercultural skills. And then the question, or the hidden question, is, what is the intercultural skills? Is there such a thing like that?
Professor, if I can, we have the first question, so
okay.
I would leave the stage back to you.
Okay.
And is Francesca asking to us what kind of applicant is Luis looking for?
That's a very good question. We are looking for talented students who are very ambitious in terms of their international career objectives. So if you're interested to boost your career opportunities, whether it is in political science, international relations, management, or finance, surely our double degree programs may offer you the appropriate opportunities. And as we heard so far from Eduardo, from Maria Elena, and from Tamara, the double degree programs paths, in fact, are very important to strengthen and, in fact, reinforce your ambition.
Thank you.
So, back to you, Daniele.
Back to me. Well, I have to say that the intercultural skills was the main topic of my double degree, since I did a double degree with the Fudan University in Shanghai, so in China. And I met a culture totally different from the one we are used to, and absolutely the first 2 months was really difficult to interact, to speak with people, but little by little this difficulty became an opportunity to grow as a person and to increase your skill, both from an academic and both from a professional point of view. During this year in China, I had the opportunity to do an internship in the Shanghai branch of Intesa San Paulo. And like my colleague, even if in a company environment and not in an institutional environment, I have the opportunity to enter deep inside the country culture, working every day with a Chinese colleague. Of course, it was not easy at the beginning, but I assure you that it can hugely increase your CV, and it can hugely increase your appeal for the companies.
Thanks, Daniele. This is interesting. It's very interesting what you said in terms of difficulties that actually then become opportunities to learn and actually cross these problems and learn, in fact, more. You mentioned that you've been working together with Chinese students, which, as we know, they come from a totally different culture. But again, this kind of barrier, I do think that helped you a lot in terms of understanding which kind of specific skills or even words you have to use when it comes to interacting with these people.
Yeah, if I can, I like to recall an example that actually happened to me. At the beginning, you don't know how to deal with Chinese people because you are not used to their culture, you are not used how to approach them. And I remember at the beginning when they say to me, I will let you know, I really think that they will let me know and they will work for it. Well, after my experience, I understand that the Asian culture really seldomly say no. In the Asian culture, is really seldom they say no. So when they tell you, I will let you know, I will try it, it may means no. It may means that they are saying no, but you have to read their body language. You have to read behind the words. I know it's difficult to express, but trust me, it's something you feel, because during the year you feel you are understanding more and more the culture, you understand more and more what they mean when they speak.
Very interesting. So understanding culture means, as Daniela was saying, going beyond the simple words, going beyond, and in fact trying to interpret the hand gestures on the body language. And you can actually do that. You can actually learn these intercultural skills only if you really experience them. So the question now back to Maria Elena is what if you were to learn these skills by reading a book? I'm going against the profession because we academics, we write books and papers, but I'm saying to you something totally different.
Yeah. By reading a book. So apart from the language, of course, because you may learn that by reading a book.
Sure.
There are lots of other things, like, for example, the culture. You learn it not only by reading a book, so you for example, just the simple lectures were very different in the UK, based on my experience. So we were interacting very much. So I think your opinion was valued very much. So you had to read a lot to prepare for lectures in advance. But obviously what in the end was really mattered was your opinion, your ideas, and the way you actually developed and presented your ideas. So this I think is a very important thing that you learn to develop abroad. And
yeah, that's another interesting perspective that Maria Elena is underlying, that, as I say, is the kind of academic culture that you will find in our partner universities, because King's is a UK-based university where, as we know, in the Anglo-Saxon academic world, the opinion, your own opinions are very, very relevant. So it's probably, less formal than ours. But in fact, on purpose, we have decided to develop this kind of initiative, this partnership, because in this way you actually expose not only to the specific national culture, which was something that Daniela was mentioning, but also to the specific academic culture. So what Marianne is saying, that surely you got to be preparing your classes, preparing your lectures, preparing your seminars, but then at the end of the day you're supposed to actually push yourself and develop your own thinking, your opinion when it comes to specific topics, even, I guess, very important ones. That were actually taught at King's. Let me go back to Tamara and ask her about her academic experience in Nova, in Portugal.
Firstly, something completely different, as maybe Maria Elena experienced, was the different approach in class. Compared to what I was used to here in Lewis around 2 years ago. Last year in Nova was normally discussion based on cases, lecture that you have to prepare before. You have to discuss in class like a round table or during all classes or around the majority of the classes, and then you can be even for just 2 hours the professor. So stay alone or during with your groups presenting the lecture. Try to interact with your colleagues that are your audience for that classes. Secondly, also the structure of the program, because I attended courses shorter, so the so-called term, which is quite common in the European way of in the European university. I mean, the program is different, the length of the terms, and also the behavior that you have to have in class, mainly because your professor is not simply your professor. You can interact with him, in some cases also organize networking or meetings or coffee break during the classes, where you not were forced, but you have to discuss presenting your ideas, your way of saying, and also this is correlated with the culture, because the most important part in those multi-ethnical, multicultural environment as Nova, as Lewis, and UK or even Fudan, is that the class is composed by mainly 16 or 70 different nationalities, also in my case. So I think is an opportunity, a really, really good opportunity to develop all your capabilities in this case.
Thanks to Tamara. Actually, she has underlined another important dimensions that you're going to be exploring and in fact capturing when it comes to double degree programs. That is to say, not only will you be exposed to different type of content topics that both Daniele and Mariella mentioned, but also different teaching methods, simulation, role playing, and these are also opportunities for you to develop your hands-on knowledge. And again, they provide you approaches, aspects that will actually complete in a way, add value to your curriculum. Just like to turn quickly to Eduardo because I think he's going to go back to work. Thank him.
Yes.
And if you want to spare another few words about your experience, especially your internship, how valuable was your internship when it came to your interview, job interview for Accenture?
Actually, as my colleagues were saying before, I can assure you that when you have an international experience, a working international experience on your CV, this can really increase your probability to get the job you're applying for. So just to conclude, I really can assure to the upcoming student that your international experience will change probably your life in general, both as a worker and as a person. So try your best and good luck for your international experience.
Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Professor, we have other two questions.
Sure.
One for you and one for us. Luisa asked, in which countries would be able to go through a double degree program?
Okay, we do have a large number of double degree programs and that are actually with partner universities located across the globe. Just to nominate some of them: Austria, Belgium, China, France, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Russia, Sweden, UK and US. So we do have a pretty broad portfolio of geographical/cultural experience that again are very valuable for your CV at the end of the day, as we're actually trying to understand now. Which is your question then?
Julia is asking to us, which was the hardest moment of our double degree experience? So I will let Tamara start.
Oh, wow. The hardest maybe the end of the program. When I had to, last May, I had to come back to Italy. It was seriously the first week that I was here in Italy again. Something was missing. Something, maybe the special moments that I had with my friends, with my colleagues, with all my Portuguese and non-Portuguese friends. I think this is the hardest one. But I can also say the hardest one during the program abroad was maybe the beginning, where you almost the beginning try to face the first exams at the end of the first period, because as I said before, the program, the structure and the method was really, really different compared to my previous experience. So maybe the first 2 months in that sense was hard too.
Yeah, I totally agree with Tamara. I think the hardest part is at the beginning and in the end. I think I'm experiencing the hardest part now because I just came back from London, and I think it's really difficult after you have spent such a long time abroad, to actually readapt in Italy, to readapt to the kind of life you were used to before, because you have this whole package of new experiences, of a new vision that has broadened, that is very difficult to actually readapt of what we were used before. Obviously, you are now a changed person, you have a more you have broadened your experience, so obviously I think you're more self-confident and everything, but the hardest part is always to come back, I think.
Good. It might seem quite strange, but it's an interesting point, isn't it? That the hardest part for me is exactly the same that my colleague said. Of course, the first 2 weeks were very difficult. You need to adapt to a new culture. There is the so-called culture shock, And the most amazing stuff is that this culture shock come back when you go back to Italy, because you get so used to the other culture that when you come back to Italy is really, really so hard to live such a big experience and such a big life experience.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. You know, being an academic doing empirical research, I could say this is a kind of interesting empirical pattern that is emerging out of such a limited number of cases. But I can tell you, I can bring in my own experience, and I experienced the same situation as Maria Elena, Tamara, and Daniele. You know, you do have difficulties when it comes to actually embracing a new culture when you do your double degree program. You start your double degree program, and then it becomes difficult when you come back, adapt back to the Italian culture, or actually try to fine-tune yourself to what you were used to. And I can tell you that as another kind of interesting outcomes of double degree programs, or more in general, significant international experience, is that this readaptation becomes a skill. So what you find now very hard, because you've been abroad for 1 year, you're coming back and you're trying to, again, finding your feet back in your own country, becomes much easier when you start having more international experience and becomes your own skills. Just to try to address my questions that I've actually turned to Daniele about what are intercultural skills. Well, it's one ability to feel yourself at home wherever you go. And it's something that, again, you do not learn by reading a book, you do not learn by reading a paper or sitting an exam. Well, they're all part of it, but actually experiencing it in a class which is multicultural, which is multi-ethnic, it is also multi-language, also in terms of body language, going back to our body languages, going back to what Daniela was saying, it does provide you a very important kind of platform to learn this kind of skills. So again, double degree programs do help you leverage and in fact develop these intercultural skills.
Professor, we have a question from Jonathan that asks when can we apply for the double degree programs?
Okay, our call will be out in a few days on March 9th, and they will be closed on the 26th of April. So you have quite a few weeks to apply for the double degree programs. Of course, our International Development Office is at your disposal, so if you would like to ask more information, even technical ones, please feel free to email us. Do we have other questions from the audience? Or?
Actually, no.
No, okay. Can I just then ask you another question to each of you? Can you tell us any specific anecdote or specific experience, even outside your university environment, that you think has been extremely relevant or you will never forget after being 1 year in China, 1 year in Portugal, 1 year in the UK? Anything that you think, well, this is something that I can bring home?
I do have one.
Yes.
Brexit.
Yes, Brexit. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because, yeah, it was interesting, especially because I was doing my internship at the embassy at that time. I finished in July. So I saw the whole process from its beginning until its very end, and it's going through right now. And I think I could experience it not only as a student of international relations, but obviously as a person, as a European citizen living in the UK in that moment. And I think it was a case study that I actually experienced as a first person, as a witness. And also, I think it's something that I've seen, it's something that is very valued in the CV as well. Mm-hmm. So people ask you to be like a sort of expert in that field. So I think I was really lucky, I can say that, but it's probably something I will bring with me in my whole future.
That's very interesting. So Marianne has been a live witness. She's been living live a specific, I would say probably epical kind of situation that emerged, not out of the blue, but still surely with pretty important implications. Daniele.
I'd like to share two experiences that I think are really relevant. One of these is quite funny. I was traveling to Guilin, a city in the south of China. And actually, most of the Chinese that I met stopped me for doing picture. This make you understand that they are not used to see Western people in some part of China. And of course, you can imagine we feel really important, and it was both an embarrassing but both also sort of proud experience. And another experience I want to mention, the biggest bias I think Western people have about China, and it regards the security. When I ask my friends, when I ask to most of the people I know, do you think that China is a safe country? The answer most of the time is no. And personally, also me, before going, I thought that was not a safe country. Well, if there will be a third world war, is China where I want to be, because there is a light 24/7. It's a really amazing. The policemen are everywhere, and trust me, nothing. It can't happen. Really nothing. And I tell you, because you go out at night at 5 o'clock, 5 a.m. It can happen, and no problem. Really, it was something that really strikes me.
Okay, interesting.
Personally, I would say my personal change, how I can see myself now compared to around 1 year and a half ago. I think this can say almost everything about my personal experience in Lisbon. But one different thing, not related to my personality, is the experience in Cabo da Roca, the westernmost part in Europe, at the sunset. So staying there around 30 minutes, just with the sea, with the rocks, and with myself. So I would say both two changes.
Okay, interesting. So again, as you have heard, this from the real voice of Tamara, Mariella, and Daniele. In fact, these experiences, this intellectual experience, have changed themselves as persona. So they lost something in terms of what they used to be, but now they are somewhat surely richer in terms of experience, in terms of abilities, in terms of understanding, in terms also of opportunities that they can create themselves. So one, I think, important aspect of this experience that's worth underlining is to do with the relevance of the path itself. So each single path, being it in Portugal, being it in London, being it in Shanghai, has offered so many things that probably none of them were thinking before actually even they applied for the double degree program. I guess we do have the last question.
We have the last question from Martina, and she asks, what kind of support do we have by Luis and the host institution during our mobility?
Okay, interesting question. In Luis, we do have an infrastructure that has been set up in order to address all your questions, issues, doubts about double degree programs and the likes. And the same holds true also for our university partners, who can actually offer support when you actually arrive there, in terms of course, the way classes are organized, the way the housing market works, and the like. So, do you feel somewhat you're going to be feeling all right when it comes to asking these kind of questions? Anything last word you would like to spare with our potential candidates?
I'd like maybe to strike another point on this. I have to say that the International Career Service of Luis follow all us. I'm speaking only about the student with my experience in China. So they follow us to find the internship in China, and they really helped us. It's not that easy when you go to a foreign country. they stay next to us, and not only from the internship point of view, but also every day they take care. There was, let's say, Fudan professor, a sort of professor, that worked for Louis, and she followed us, and really, when we have some problem, we can go to her, and she solved all our problem.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and the International Development Office also follows you throughout, before even the departure, during your time abroad, and even when you come back. So if you have any doubts, anything, you can always email them. You can do Skype. I did Skype several times throughout my experience. So they really are there for you. That's it.
Very good. Want to add something else?
Just to remember that next week, on March 9th, will be the presentation for the specialist master courses here, and a specific part is related and devoted to the presentation of all possibilities, opportunities that you can apply.
Okay, thanks a lot. In order to wind up this very interesting, let's call it sharing event, experience sharing event regarding double degree programs, I would like to, of course, invite you all to apply for our degree programs, but also to read a very interesting poem. The poem is by Konstantinos Kavafis, and its title is Ithaca. And the focus of this poem is on the importance of a path. Why I'm saying the importance of path? Because if you remember properly, a couple of minutes ago I said if each and every double degree program is a path, and this very rich path is full of experience, full of opportunities. And Kavafis has a very interesting point. He says, no matter which is going to be your actually goal, but please do give appropriate meaning to your path, because that matters. And that's, you know, as we heard today, it's the path that matters in terms of changing your life and actually broadening your horizon in terms of both personal and professional, say, ambitions. Thank you very much.